welcome back to Comic Book Education. My name is Stuart.
Yeah, and this is Jeremy.
And this is our second episode, and hopefully this is the sequel to the first one. And often in movies you don't see the sequel being as good as the first, but
I think we can only go up, man.
Absolutely. I think we got a great show. We're going to do Marvel's Infinity today. We're going to incorporate a lot of different things into Infinity, but that's going to be our main topic today. And I guess we're going to jump right into it because we got so much to talk about.
Yeah.
So this is a story that has come recently.
Yeah, it's just this last year. It started pretty darn early. Like we've had a lot of build up to it.
And Infinity is all Jonathan Hickman, at least the Infinity part. Now,
right.
He also wrote the tie-ins, which I thought was kind of interesting. He
wrote
two of the tie-ins.
He writes Avengers, and he writes New Avengers, and we've been building to this storyline for about a year now.
Yeah, I think they have the build-up to Infinity, and some of them they say, but like you said, it starts right from the very beginning of all these, really.
Yeah.
So can you kind of tell us maybe what Infinity is about in general? Or
yeah, I can give a real quick synopsis, and then I think we should dive into some of your questions and kind of maybe go down several rabbit holes like we talked about. There are a lot in this story. It is a big, sprawling epic. It is the event of the year for Marvel. It's one of the first ones that didn't have the word war attached to it. I mean, most of the time we get a secret war or a civil war. They could have called it Infinity War, but that had been used before. So this was just called Infinity. And in the past, several big events like Avengers versus X-Men, they had used a combination of writers at Marvel. And this one was focused just on Jonathan Hickman. Like you said, there are a few other tie-in issues that took place, but they were not written by him. I only read a couple of them, and they were definitely side stories and did not affect the overall arc of Infinity.
And I wonder if do they get in a roundtable, I guess, and talk about kind of how that works?
Yeah, they have a writers' summit every year at Marvel where they all get in a room and hash out what the big events are going to be, what the big beats are going to be, who they're moving on what book, and there are several of the writers and editors that are considered like the architects of the Marvel Universe. Yeah, so those guys all get together and make the major decisions for the Marvel Universe. This Infinity was obviously one of them. And with Avengers, the movie coming out and Jonathan Hickman being moved to the main title about a year later, maybe after the movie had come out, obviously, the Avengers is the flagship of the Marvel Universe. He had a lot of success with Fantastic Four and Secret Warriors, and is a galvanizing writer, to say the least, because there are a lot of guys out there that just don't like him, and then there are a lot of big fans. I'd put myself in the big fan category of Hickman, and we can dive into why. But Infinity itself was 6 issues, drawn by several different guys. You had Dustin Weaver, Jim Cheung, and you had Jerome Opeña, I'm thinking is how you pronounce his name probably. Really like top tier Marvel talent. The coloring, lettering, everything about these issues was super top notch and very impressive.
Yeah, I love the art. I think of all the Avengers and New Avengers and Infinity, I think this is the art that I like the most.
Is it mainly Jim Cheung and Dustin Weaver that you like?
Yeah, I think I really like Steve Epting, but the color and the ink that was done on New Avengers, right? Mm-hmm. I wasn't a fan of. Like, I'm looking at that panel that you have on the wall, and that looks fantastic. But then I see it in the book, and it kind of, I don't know, it's oversaturated or something. So I'm not quite sure why that is.
Steve Epting has a very classic style, and I think when digital coloring is done over the top, sometimes it can detract a little bit from, hey, we're already down a rabbit hole, man. We're talking about digital coloring. Let's get back to Infinity.
Absolutely. Well, tell us kind of what the story is about, if you don't mind. This is the Thanos story of the Avengers.
It's Thanos, but there's also a large component of these villains that have been built up since Avengers 1 that were called the Gardeners and the Engineers and the Builders. And it is a extra-dimensional race that was supposedly around since the beginning of time. They built worlds, and then they would go to worlds and evolve them if they weren't achieving what they were supposed to, or they would destroy them and rebuild them. They have got a lot of different parts to their universe, I guess. Universe is not the right word, but So the builders and the engineers have got a lot of different moving pieces on their board. They've got these guys called gardeners. They have got a Lilith, which is involved. There are these robots called Alifs. The engineers are different than the builders, and part of the story takes place in what they call the superflow, which is the juice of the universe that keeps all the continuity together and is a little bit outside of time. And it's a crazy concept, and it is fairly complex. It's one of the more complex storylines that is resonated in these big events. Most of the time it's a fairly simple premise, like the Avengers versus the X-Men, or Civil War, which is Captain America versus Iron Man and his team. And so this is very much a cosmic level sci-fi deal, and you had these creatures, and they were trying to evolve the Earth. They caused a lot of things to happen on the Earth. They sent these evolution bombs that caused different pockets on Earth to grow weird superheroes that were the precursor to the destruction of Earth. Their plans were thwarted by the Avengers and by one of their children, I guess is the best word for it, this character called Ex Nihilo, which is a new character that Jonathan Hickman created, who you think is definitely a villain in the first several Avengers issues, and then by the time we get to Infinity, he's joined the team. Not only is that just kind of classic comic book storytelling, but is definitely classic Jonathan Hickman to flip the paradigm of a character, so you think he's going one direction, he goes another. Another neat thing that was brought in, even before we get to Thanos, was some characters and concepts from Marvel's new universe that was a run of comic books that came out in the early 80s, and it was a completely Ultimates style universe where it was alternate from Marvel proper, and they created a ton of characters: Night Mask, Starbrand, DP7. There was a whole bunch of stuff. They even had a football kind of guy in there. It was bizarre, and a lot of cool artists worked on it, and it was successful for a little bit, but it just didn't really stick, and so it petered out after a couple of years. They've tried to bring it back. I believe Warren Ellis was a part of writing some of the return several years ago, but that didn't stick either. Just hasn't really sold. And I guess Jonathan Hickman pitched in his, hey, I want to take over the Avengers universe. I want to bring in some of these new universe characters. And so Starbrand was introduced. Night Mask was introduced, and they're all a part of what they call the system that supposedly was broken, and these builders and engineers needed to rectify that by, of course, destroying the Earth. So they are headed to Earth, and the Avengers launch themselves out into space, and they begin to gather up an army of other cosmic entities in the Marvel Universe. So you've got the Imperial Guard and the Shi'ar. I think that's Shi'ar. Different people pronounce it different ways. That's an alien race in the Marvel Universe. They got the Brood, which are these crazy, nasty aliens, kind of look like from the movie Alien, you know, the insect type stuff. They went to Annihilus, who runs the Negative Zone, hooked up with him. They got the remnants of the Skrull Empire, and just all of these different alien races that were facing certain death and destruction by the builders and their Alifs, which are these robots. So they all teamed up with the Avengers, which was great because you not only got to see Captain America leading a team of superheroes, but then you got to see Captain America influencing these interstellar leaders in this kind of consortium. And
you say influencing, by influencing mean leading.
Well,
because at the end he does. They all look towards him. They're like, you were successful here, here, and here, we're going to follow you.
Yeah, and it was great to watch Captain America. He's never pushy. He's never prideful. He's written masterfully in the series. I think he's one of my kind of favorite parts of it because he's never over the top, but he always pushes his team to lead the way, to sacrifice, to be on the front lines, to lead the charge, and that inspires the entire universe at the end of the story. And you've got entire worlds that are raising up these versions of the Avengers A, which was a really neat sequence in the last couple of issues of it. Then the other story tangent, which really culminates in Infinity number 6 is the story of Thanos. And Thanos and his cadre of villains called the Cull Obsidian, or the Black Order, or whatever they wanted to call themselves. They were all new characters that are kind of surround themselves with Thanos. They were all Jonathan Hickman creations. And they realize, hey, the world is emptied of Avengers. This is the perfect chance for us to accomplish what we want. And Thanos has a couple of goals. He wants the Infinity Gauntlet. He wants the Infinity Gems because he's the one that ended up using those in other previous storylines, and he kind of feels like they're his and his right. He wants revenge against all of the superheroes of Earth because they've thwarted his plans many times. And then there's a little hidden secret that Thanos wants to do or accomplish, a mission he wants to accomplish. He makes it revealed that his son is actually living hidden in a Inhuman city. For those of you that don't know what the Inhumans are, Black Bolt and Medusa and some of those characters are part of a race known as the Inhumans, and they are humans that were genetically altered by the Terrigen Mists, which is a kind of a weird chemical that evolves humanity and gives them powers. They're not necessarily mutants because they didn't have that inbred in them. In some storylines, they have said that all mutants are Inhumans. But in this case, the Inhumans are led by Black Bolt, and Black Bolt's a part of the New Avengers, which is really the Illuminati, which we maybe can jump to in a little bit. But
we will.
Okay, we're going down that road. Okay. Oh, yeah. Black Bolt has hidden Thanos' son in a Inhuman city, and
so he knew of Thanos' son.
That's inferred in the storyline. And Thanos is looking for his son because he wants to kill him. Thanos' whole goal is to prove his love to Death herself. And so he wants to destroy the universe, destroy worlds, destroy people, cause death and chaos wherever he can. The way that Jonathan Hickman relates that in Infinity is this thing called the tribute that Thanos discusses and the Black Order discusses. And they will go to a planet or to a group of people and say, you owe Thanos a tribute. Well, what is the tribute? Well, it's the heads of all of your children. and of course, everybody puts up their dukes. You have a big fight, and sometimes Thanos wins that, and he gets his tribute. But when he came to the Inhumans, he did not get it. No, he didn't at all. The battle culminates with the Avengers defeating the builders and the engineers and all of that, and then realizing, oh my gosh, Thanos is on the Earth. And he's about to destroy the Earth. He's going to wipe us out. They've, accessed some bomb that can destroy the entire Earth. So the Avengers have to do something. And because of Captain America's inspiration, because of the Avengers' inspiration, they rally the entire interstellar force that helped them defeat the builders and the engineers and all head back to Earth. They have to break through Thanos' defenses, defeat his Black Order, fight Thanos himself, and try to save Thanos' son, but mainly they're just trying to save the world. And lots of crazy stuff happens in between, but thank goodness the good guys won in this one, or nobody would be here, right?
And boy, when they were trying to fight Thanos, like everybody was just getting repelled. I mean, it seems like there's nothing they could do against him. Even you got that scene with Hulk jumping over and trying to smash him. Thanos just pops him right in the face.
Knocks him out. I mean, you don't see the Hulk getting thrown around like a toy very often, but Thanos has got the power to do it.
And Black Bolt screaming at Thanos, and it ends, and you think, oh man, maybe he really hurt him. No. I mean, it's still Thanos.
Black Bolt is one of those characters that is a little bit of a mystery because he doesn't speak a lot. If he says a word, there's so much power in his words, it can destroy a room or a city if he yells, or he's done some pretty intense things when he opens his mouth and unleashes his, I guess it's like a sonic boom kind of power, and that has always been something in the Marvel universe that you don't want Black Bolt to open his mouth in the room,
or his
dog.
We're
gonna be in trouble. Well, the dog doesn't. The dog.
Or he opens his mouth in this one.
Yeah, he doesn't have to open his mouth to use his powers. He barks though. But Lockjaw is the Inhumans dog, and he's kind of a story device because he can teleport, and anytime he can teleport, it's just a great way to move pieces around in a story and get people in the right room where you want them to be, or save the day at the last minute. And so
they had a teleporter. They had a big teleporter in this one.
Yeah, Manifold he's a member of the Avengers. He actually stemmed and was created in Jonathan Hickman's run on Secret Avengers.
He's created a lot of people. Wow.
Yeah. Jonathan Hickman, he loves to create new characters, and
I think that's a good thing.
I think Marvel has given him a lot of leeway that they normally, in the past, have not given a lot of writers. Hickman loves to use and repurpose old stories. There's the Space Knights are in this thing, which are great. Rom, I don't know if you knew what the Space Knights were before you read this story. Had you heard of them before?
I knew of Rom from Deep Space Nine.
No, that's not the right Rom.
Yeah, Rom one.
Rom, the really cool silver action figure that came out in the 80s and was in the Marvel Universe, and he actually fought with the X-Men. There was a whole team up. All the superheroes came and helped Rom. Even back in Jonathan Hickman's run on Fantastic Four, a lot of the groundwork was laid for this. There was Black Bolt was appearing in that. You had this race called the Dire Wraiths, WRAITHS. These guys are the villains from Rom's storyline. So when guys like me that had read all these comics in the 80s were picking up Jonathan Hickman's run on Fantastic Four, and we're like, oh my gosh, there's a Dire Wraith. Where's Rom? Maybe Rom will show up. And then you flip a couple pages and you see these horse guys, alien race that looks like horses, are called chameleons, I think. And these guys were horse sorcerers from this series called Power Pack, which was again in the 80s. So you're thinking, oh my gosh, the Power Pack kids should show up. And so it was really neat, taking all these wonderful things from your past and putting them together in more modern, storytelling devices that they're using in modern comics now. So it's an easy sell for me.
I thought the ending was very interesting. I liked that they unleashed a Terrigenesis bomb or something.
Yeah, the Terrigen mists, which are the catalyst for change in the Inhuman storyline. They Maximus, who is
Gladiator.
No.
Well, I'm just kidding.
There is a character called Gladiator in Infinity, but he's not named Maximus. Maximus is not a gladiator. He is the brother of Black Bolt, and he's an Inhuman, and he's a little bit crazy. He's always been crazy. Sometimes he's a villain, sometimes he's a hero. In this case, he built a Terrigenesis bomb, and his brother Black Bolt, to stop Thanos, and probably with some future implications, unleashes this Terrigenesis bomb, and it affects the entire planet. And we have got these little this mist that covers the whole planet and affects people, and they go into these little cocoons. If they had the propensity to be an Inhuman, they are now going to be born with their powers. So there's Inhumanity is coming out now in the Marvel Universe, and the Inhumans are going to get their own book here. And I believe that this is just a way for Marvel to create a whole bunch of new characters, to have it tied to the Inhumans and Black Bolt and Thanos and this whole Infinity storyline. And it'll be very interesting to see what they do. And, to me, there'll probably be a couple of characters that will stick around from that series. And Marvel's always looking for a new, interesting way to introduce new people into the mix. And
the character that'll definitely come out is Thane, right? Because the bomb unleashed this gentleman that was a doctor and was very caring and loved people and helping people.
Yeah, this was Thanos' son, and he was living in this planet. Yeah,
he had no idea, I think. Or maybe he knew who he was, really? I'm not quite sure.
I don't really remember that part.
Either way, he was a very helpful doctor.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
And all of a sudden, this bomb happens. He turns into Thane. And
he didn't. The bomb didn't change his personality. What happened with the bomb was it revealed his powers,
right.
And his powers were death. He just annihilated the entire city that he was with, and so he kind of wakes up from the experience of the bomb, and everybody around him is dead. And then one of the guys from the Black Order, called the Ebony Maw, M-A-W, which is a really cool name. Kind of reminds me of the Mouth of Sauron from Lord of the Rings. that type of character. He was the arbitrator and the negotiator for Thanos. And so he doesn't really have any special powers other than he says things and influences people. So Thanos sends Ebony Maw to his son right after he's caused all of this death and basically whispers in his ear saying, hey, you're obviously evil. Look at all this damage you caused. You know you are the son of Thanos. And at that point, they contain him and wait for Thanos to come, and then they have the big resolution in issue 6, which Thanos is frozen in living death at the end of the issue. Spoiler alert.
By Thane.
Thane goes off into deep space with Ebony Maw and is referenced at the end of the book that he will surpass his father in evil and death dealing, which is like awful. I mean, Thanos is the biggest heavy hitter villain next to Galactus in the Marvel Universe, and now we've introduced his son that's going to surpass him. So, I mean, Jonathan Hickman's laying some long. I mean, he's always been in it for the long play, but this is even more planting. You know, he planted a major villain in the Marvel Universe.
Did you have a favorite part or a favorite thing that you can remember that you enjoyed the most from the series?
Inspiration-wise, it was those panels where all of the alien worlds were raising the Avengers A, whether they had built it out of scrap metal or painted it on something or burned it in the air or whatever. That was really cool. Like, I could definitely get behind that. I loved the sequence where Thor sends his hammer around the sun, and it was almost like that dialogue again from Lord of the Rings where the Nazgul is about to destroy King Theoden, and Eowyn, his daughter, who has put on armor to act like a man to join the battle, shows up, and the Nazgul guy says, "No man can kill me," and she pulls off her helmet and says, "I'm no man." And she fights him, and it's the same way. The builders say, you know, what can man do to us?
Take a knee,
and Thor basically says, I'm no man, I'm a god. And at that point, his hammer comes rocketing back around the sun and blows a hole through this builder and inspires the, destruction and the rallies the troops. So that was a really cool part. However, my favorite sequence occurred in one of the side books, which was in Avengers, not the Infinity series proper. And the sequence that I loved the most was Manifold, that teleporter we were talking about, is nervous because they're returning back to Earth and they've got to fight Thanos, and he knows that they could all potentially die. He knows that it's really a last chance ditch effort that they can even come close to winning, and he's scared. I mean, he's been through scrapes before, but this whole interstellar cosmic conflict has weighed heavy on him, and so he is talking to Captain America about that, and Captain America basically says, I don't believe in destiny. I don't believe in, some greater force that's influencing us. He's kind of saying, and Captain America believes in God, I think, but he's basically saying it's all up to us. It's what we do as people that is going to get us through. And that inspires Manifold a little bit. Personally, I didn't like it because I subscribe to the guy that walks up to Manifold next, which is Thor. And Thor walks up to him and says, hey, listen, I love Captain America and he's awesome, but I'm going to tell you this. There is destiny, and we are destined to come back and fight. And I can tell you I've lived for, hundreds of thousands of years or thousands of years or whatever. And he relays this inspiration to Manifold, letting him know that he's been made for such a time as this to go back and help win the battle. And so that contrast between Thor and Captain America's view on why they do what they do, being relayed to this young hero, was really inspirational. And you can get, it's great when a comic book can touch you in a place that can really inspire you in your own life, as opposed to just reading cool stuff in the comic. Like, Thor's hammer coming through the center of that guy's chest is cool to look at, but thinking, wow, is there destiny, or do I just do what I do and do the best I can? And that's something that we all struggle with, and so for that to be relayed in a comic book, I thought was really cool. What did you think of that part?
I definitely love that part, and the part that I really enjoyed is kind of ties in with that too, but it's from the Avengers early on when Iron Man or Tony Stark and Cap were trying to get a team together. They knew that they needed to grow because there's so many forces out there. They got to get more people involved, and them recruiting people
Oh yeah, yeah. That's all the way back in Avengers 1.
Oh yeah, cool. Oh yeah. But like I said, I think it all ties in, and the way he recruited it, some of it was funny, like Spider-Man was funny, Wolverine. But I think what I really enjoyed was the speech he gave to all of them at the end, and I can't quote or anything, but it was just a rah-rah kind of speech, basically saying, this is the time we all need to be together. It's an Avengers world. Yeah. That's why it's going to work out. Yeah. And I thought that was real special. So.
Yeah, I love this stuff. Okay, cool. You got some other questions, man. Let's dive in, and we're already cruising time-wise into this one.
We had the Illuminati were in this, and this is the first time that I've been introduced to the Illuminati. I'm wondering if you can kind of tell us what that is, who they are.
Well, the Illuminati is really the name of the team or concept of the main thinkers and big power players in the Marvel Universe. And these guys joined up years and years and years ago. You have Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. You have Namor, also known as the Submariner. You have the Black Panther. You have got Professor Xavier. You have Doctor Strange. You have Tony Stark. And am I missing somebody? Is there a seventh one?
That's it. And he's just so smart. These people.
Yeah, well, and they've been working behind the scenes, and they've never told anybody that they're kind of a team. And they didn't tell their wives. They didn't tell their friends. They didn't involve anybody in their dealings. And there was this stuff came out of the Secret Invasion storyline that happened several years ago. Found out that they had known about a Skrull invasion. They had known about a lot of stuff. There was a great 6-issue limited series that came out. Maybe it was 5 issues. And it was also drawn by Jim Cheung. And it's all about the Illuminatis. And what happens is every issue is a different adventure through the course of about 20 years' time. And so it's a really fun series to go back and look at. And it deals with Secret Wars. It deals with the Skrulls. It deals with just different major milestones in the Marvel Universe and kind of what was going on behind the scenes with this group called the Illuminati. Well, when Jonathan Hickman took over Avengers and then the title New Avengers really became the Illuminati's book. And these guys show up and they are dealing with a threat to the world, or actually the multiverse, where worlds are colliding in amongst themselves. Things are really bad. They get together and they decide that they may have to sacrifice their principles and destroy these other worlds, potentially to save their own.
Somebody's got a problem with that.
Somebody's got a problem with that. It's Captain America who had joined the team. Well, they promptly wipe Captain America's mind and send him packing. And Captain America now doesn't know the threat and doesn't realize that these other guys have been working behind the scenes. That's going to come to a head, and they've alluded to it in some of the upcoming issues. It's Avengers versus New Avengers. And Cap is going to be really ticked off.
It better come to a head, because
it will come to a head.
That was one problem that I had, is it was never addressed. Like when people in the DC universe, when Zatanna, wipes minds, it always has consequences, it seems.
This is going to have a major consequence. There are so many things going on in that New Avengers book that it almost, like, the ramifications of those storylines dwarf what's going on in the Avengers. It's really cool to see Cannonball and Smasher get together, maybe going to have a relationship, or watch Hyperion kind of become a hero and see how the Hulk is interacting with these other guys. That's really fun. But in the New Avengers book, you have Black Panther swearing to kill Submariner. And Submariner basically saying, bring it on.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the Beast and Reed Richards and Iron Man that are building a more than a nuclear warhead, but building antimatter bombs that can destroy other planets so that they can save their own. The fact that they wiped Captain America's mind to prevent him from stopping them, Jonathan Hickman's going to pay that off. You've also got Doctor Strange that opens up this book of death magic that supposedly, if you read it, you're going to die. It's intense stuff going on there. And they've got Thanos in the basement now. They've got Terrax from another universe. Terrax is a herald of Galactus. They've just got him captured. He's sitting in a chair. There. And then you've got the Black Swan, which is another new character that is involved with this multi-universe threat.
He's got, like I said, he's got all these new characters that we talked about, but he writes them, as a new reader, I feel like they've always been there. And I think that's a testament to how well he writes.
I agree.
Yeah, I think You talked about Beast. Beast is there. Why? Because
Professor X died. Cyclops, killed Professor X in Avengers vs. X-Men, which is, really sad, patricide kind of storyline. It's awful. And
each of these Illuminati have a piece of the Infinity
had,
and then
a piece of the Infinity Gauntlet, which are the gems. You have to assemble the gems to make the Infinity Gauntlet, and one of them, Professor X, had. And to defeat this threat, the Illuminati get together and they say, well, we got to reassemble the Infinity Gauntlet. Well, we got a problem. Professor X is dead. We don't know where his gem is. So they find out that Professor X had done a memory implant into the Beast, and the Beast, it was going to be the caretaker of the gem. And so that was a really neat sequence. I like the Beast in this context. He's not been one of my favorite characters from the X-Men. He's not been one of my favorite characters when he's on the Avengers. But I love him in the Illuminati because he's like normal average mutant hanging out with the global, the multi-universe players of, Reed Richards and Iron Man and all that. It's crazy.
I think as much as I feel the Avengers necessarily aren't always the best team because they don't always get along, I could say that for the Illuminati. They don't see, it seems like every single one of them either have an agenda or just don't like each other. And it's kind of a strange team to be together.
They are a team, they seem to me more like the Pentagon with a bunch of generals that are trying to figure out how to fight a war, or a group of congressmen and senators and presidents and world leaders that are coming together. And they all have their own agenda. They all have their own ideas on how this stuff is go, and they all have beef with each other. Yeah. I mean, the stuff between Submariner and Black Panther has been extremely interesting to watch through that series, and that's going to come to a head, and it kind of has come to a head. I mean, we've had Atlantis has been decimated. Wakanda has been decimated. You've got Black Panther that's basically forced into lying to his sister, who's the queen of Wakanda, lying to all of his people, and he's isolated in the kingdom of the dead, which is a part of Wakanda called the Necropolis, where he's the king of the dead, she's the queen of the Wakandans. And man, poor Black Panther. I feel bad for him because I like his character in this. He's cool.
And not only was he lying, it came out.
Oh, it came out. Yeah, it was revealed.
It came out.
And she slapped him, and everybody betrayed him.
I'm pretty unfamiliar with Black Panther, but what's the deal with him and the Queen? Why don't they get along?
Well, they did get along. They were brother and sister, and he got married to Storm, which wow. I really don't know what the finality of that story is. So I know that they had courted for a long time. They got married, and then something happened. They had a falling out in Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four run. The Black Panther and Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four all assault this threat that was in Wakanda in the Necropolis, the city of the dead, and they faced these Egyptian-style African gods and forces, and they beat them. And the result of that was Black Panther becomes the king of the dead, which means he can't hold his position as king of Wakanda anymore.
Oh, okay, that makes
and
sense.
So that's why she had to take up that mantle. So in the Marvel Universe, there's actually two Black Panthers now. There's her as queen of the Wakandans, and then there's the old Black Panther, T'Challa is his name.
And I think Chris is explaining there's been a lot of Black Panthers before previously.
Yeah, it's a cool sequence. It's awesome stuff. It's like a history. You take up the mantle of your father or the one before, and you keep going with it. It's a neat idea.
Yeah, I thought that was his. Like I said, it was my first experience with him, and I really like Black Panther.
Good.
And maybe he'll be in the Avengers. I don't know.
They need him in the Avengers. I think he would good. He would be great. There'd be a little bit more diversity on the team, and there's no other characters like the Black Panther. And he may not be the most powerful, but he's extremely smart. And again, he's an inspirational leader like Captain America.
When we were talking about Captain America and the Infinity Gauntlet, there's a part, and this is still part, it's not in Infinity, but it's still part of it.
It's building up to it, for sure.
He puts on the Infinity Gauntlet, and the reason is because there's another world coming down.
Yeah.
And basically he moves...
Worlds are merging, the universe, and if the worlds merge, both are destroyed.
Right, and so he moves, or is attempting to move that world away, and in doing so, smashes all the gems.
Breaks the Infinity Gauntlet.
And I'm excited to see, what happens with that, but I'm wondering if you have any insight as to why maybe that happened.
why that happened. The Infinity Gauntlet allows you to manipulate space, time, and reality, and gives you almost omnipotent control. And so the Illuminati knew that they could assemble the Infinity Gauntlet and then use it to save the world. And Captain America was the only one kind of pure of heart enough to wield that glove. So he puts on the Infinity Gauntlet and he stretches out with an extension of his will to move this other planet and to stop the merging from happening. And we don't know why the Infinity Gauntlet was destroyed, the gems were destroyed in that process, but we can assume that the strain was too great, or that Captain America's will was not strong enough, or there's some other, and this is probably Jonathan Hickman's writing stuff going on there, a third party that was a part of this, some extra dimensional force that's causing these dimensions to go together, and the Infinity Gauntlet was messed up. I think that will come out. We'll get an explanation of that. I know that Jonathan Hickman has described in Fantastic Four, Reed Richards went to another dimension where all of the Reeds from all of the dimensions get together. They have this council of Reeds, and we're really deviating from Infinity, but it's okay. Right. We're going down this road. And some of those guys had Infinity Gauntlets, and Reed's like, "Hey, you guys have Infinity Gauntlets. This is perfect. We can fix everything." And they realized that an Infinity Gauntlet outside of its own native universe does not have as much power. So that could tell me that if another universe was merging, then the Infinity Gauntlet's power could be diminished because it's close to this other universe. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of the thought process, I think, going on there.
Okay, I got one last question before we wrap it up. You got the Hulk, and I wish that he was involved a little more, but I understand
why do you want the Hulk to be involved more?
Because he's the Hulk. He's awesome. And
he smashes things.
Yeah, but it's interesting. A, he seemed calm for some reason. I don't understand why. And B, he's wearing a strange suit. I wonder if you can kind of explain maybe why.
I can guess on the suit.
We got time. So
we
go
got
ahead.
time. Okay. Yeah. Well, I can guess on the suit, and I can tell you why he's not as involved on the team, and I can tell you why he's calm. So let's start with why he's calm. Currently in the Marvel Universe, Bruce Banner and the Hulk have an agreement to work together. Their intellect is merging into kind of one, and they are, they're still irritated with each other, but they don't hate each other. Bruce Banner realizes that the Hulk can be a useful tool, and if he can calm the Hulk down kind of from the inside out and focus the Hulk and allow the Hulk to be out and doing things, kind of give Hulk a mission, Hulk is not as destructive. So Mark Waid has got his Hulk Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff that was going on, and he's trying to fix time and causing all other kinds of problems. So the Hulk was working with S.H.I.E.L.D., and Captain America and Iron Man know if you're going to put a team together, you got to have the Hulk. You got to have the Hulk. I mean, there's some problems that only thing can fix is a big green fist. And so they grab the Hulk. Now, the reason Jonathan Hickman does not dive into his character a lot is because he wants that surprise factor of, oh crap, I forgot about the Hulk. Here he comes jumping in a panel and destroys something. So because there's some very dynamic panels inside Infinity and inside the Avengers where the Hulk shows up and just causes a big ruckus. And when you focus on a character like that throughout the series and allow him to have a lot of playtime, those moments don't have the shock value. And so from a writer's standpoint, I believe that's why the Hulk is used that way in Infinity and used that way in the Avengers. Thor has moments like that too, but Thor's again he's set up this man of faith, man of action stuff between Captain America and Thor inside the Avengers storyline, and so the Hulk really doesn't offer much into that, other than Bruce Banner being kind of a tactical guy that's helping Iron Man and Captain America make decisions. All right, the costume.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Why does the Hulk need armor? Is it a containment suit? Is it? I was thinking at first, I was like, man, it just looks really cool, and I think that's cool. Probably it. I think it looks cool. It gives the Hulk a different visual appeal and makes him feel like part of the team because everybody on the Avengers has got an outfit, But The other thing I thought it might be was, if you have a dog and they go crazy a lot, they put them in these containment vests. Have you seen these things with like a leash on it? So that's what I think it's like a hug for the Hulk. It makes him feel loved.
Nobody needs a hug more than the Hulk sometimes.
I don't think there's a better way to end an episode than that comment right there.
Oh yeah. So I really enjoyed this series. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen, the ramifications for everything, and I'll definitely be still following Avengers and New Avengers, and whatever adventures Jonathan Hickman comes up with after that, I'm going to be following it right behind him.
Me too. I'm in.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. You can catch us on our website at comicbookeducation.com.
Yep.
We're also on Pinterest, The Comic Book Education. We're on Twitter, kind of. We're still working on that. And, of course, Facebook. So find us on Facebook, like us, join in the conversation.
Ask some questions.
I look forward to hearing from you.
Yep.
So, anything else?
No, man. This is Jeremy.
This is Stuart. Have a good day.